Perfect. All right, you guys. So I'm going to give everyone just a second to jump on. So as soon as I see the viewer number go up, we will begin. But if you guys are watching the recording and you guys missed the training last night that Craig did for the entire team, then shame on you. You're and I think for me as a leader, it was just like one of those moments where you just feel so re-inspired about your purpose and why you do what you do. And I know there's moments where we go through this business and we can go through those like brief flips of like, why does this still mean what it does to me? Does it still mean what it did in the beginning? And last night was like a full circle moment because Craig, you were actually one of the first people that I'd ever heard speak at I think it was Super Saturday, but now that I say that, I'm wondering if it was just like a standalone event or something like that.
Wow. Awesome. Was that in Arizona?
It was in DC. My husband was stationed there when I started my business, and it was
okay.
One of those like take me to church moments. Like, yes, I'm like on the same page here.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool. Okay, so I see a bunch of people are on, so I'm just going to hand it over to you. I feel like everybody's just like ready to kind of dig into this awesome leadership content you've got for us.
Okay, Andrea, I'm ready to go. Thank you so much. You can hear me all right, right?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited about the call tonight, guys. I love talking to leaders. I like talking to the masses and the big groups. And I know last night we had kind of a lot of different kinds of people on or different ranks and those kinds of things. But I love talking to leaders because I feel like I don't have to mince words. We can talk about, really focus on what it takes to succeed in the business. And what I'm going to give you tonight is, I have a 10 points of leadership that I've developed. And one of the things in the development of it is I use it when I'm mentoring. And I want you guys to use it for the same reason. And so tonight's twofold, really. Number one is I'm gonna give you tonight 5 of 10 points, and we'll do the other 5. I know we're doing another call next Thursday night. We'll do the other 5 points because this could be a 2-hour seminar. But let me tell you how I use this. I get this out to just the outline, the 10 points. I get it out to the people that I'm working with personally. And when you're building your business, you want to get it to your leaders, the people because one of the things we need to do as the leaders is we need to mentor our leaders. We need to develop strong leadership. And I can tell you from my experience of 27 years of building a business that my greatest strength and my greatest numbers came from leaders. I always say that numbers follow leaders. Leaders don't you don't consider 1,000 people on your team one day and you wake up and you go, man, how'd that happen? We strategically plan. And I'm a big, one of my mentors is John Maxwell, and John Maxwell's huge on leadership and on generational leadership. And he talks about 5 levels of leadership, and level 5 in the 5th level is leaders that develop leaders that develop leaders that develop leaders. And I remember when I first sat down with Christine Dwyer, when I first worked with her, because she was the first person I worked with Beachbody. It was actually Christine for 6 months and just her team. And then she had such incredible, wonderful growth that Carl called me and said, hey, can you stay around? And that's how I got involved with the whole company nationally. But I remember sitting down with Christine and says, Christine, the strength of your business will be based on the strength of your leadership. You've got to go down and build 4 strong generations of leadership. And so I'm so big on that. And as I look back at my business, I literally, when I had about 25,000 people on my team, I had 12 strong leaders. And those people were people, and as I go through these points tonight, they were 10-point leaders. And so what I use this for is I give it to people that I'm working with, and I say, you need to grade yourself on each one of these points. Right? And let's say 10's the top grade and 0 or 1 means, and I'm not good at this at all. And then I take that tally, and the first call I ever do with them, I start walking through these 10 points. Because as leaders, we have to find on our team where their weaknesses are. I don't want to continue to counsel and I want to strengthen their strengths, but I also want to find out where do I need to work with them. Because most of you, even if you have people you would call a leader on your team, after I go through this over the next 2 weeks, you'll find you probably have 3-point leaders or 5-point leaders. But what our goal is 10-point leaders, building generational leadership. Excuse me. So as I go through these points, tonight I want you to grade yourself out. If I give a point and I break it down and we talk about it and you go, man, I'm there. I got that one down. Then give yourself a 10. If you say, man, I've got a lot of work to do, give yourself a 5. And then go from there. Because, first of all, it's self-evaluation, right? I need to know where I need to grow. And I talked a little bit about that last night in our personal discovery. And our personal discovery is how we have conviction. Because without personal discovery, there's no conviction. You know, I used to do marriage counseling at the church, and couples would come in and sit down across from me, and you know, I'd talk to them, and I'd really ask them questions most of the time. And when I finished, they said, "Well, you didn't give us much information." And I said, "No, but what did you discover about yourselves tonight?" Because in that discovery, if I come up with it, then I'm going to have more conviction to change it. So as leaders, our job isn't to tell somebody, "Well, you talk too much. You don't work hard enough. Right? You're not doing the things you need to do." I want them to discover that through asking questions, so that when they discover it now, in their discovery, their voice is saying it. Now, guess what? Now they're responsible for making the change. So as leaders, our job isn't to continue to tell people what they need to do. Our job is help them discover what they need to do. And in that discovery, it equals conviction. And if the drive's big enough, and the passion's big enough, and the dream's big enough, they're going to make the decision to change. So I'm adamant on mentoring. So each one of you that are watching tonight, and I know we have all diamonds and above on here, but I want to tell you tonight that you need to have a mentor in your life, because we can't see ourselves the way we are. There's so many parts of us that we look at as we meet people, and we talk to them. We realize that they don't see these flaws in ourselves. And if you're vulnerable, and be willing to be vulnerable with someone in your life that you trust, right? And that's a key, because the trust has to be there. And when we think about it as leaders, you know, in our business, it's tough, right? When I was a cop, if I was a sergeant, all the guys that were under me had to do what I said. In our business, nobody has to do what you say. We run a volunteer army. It's a whole different ball game, right? And the leadership that comes from that goes to the leaders that rise up and choose to lead. And one of the things I want to encourage you guys tonight, and I remember when I first started working with mentoring and doing mentoring with a lot of the people at Beachbody, I would tell them, I want you to not be a leader. I want you to be a leader of leaders. You know, if Carl Deichler decided, I'm going to call the 25 top leaders in this company, and I'm going to bring them to my house, and I'm going to do a 3-day retreat with them, you want your name on that list. So your goal should not only be, well, I want to lead, I want to build diamonds. No, you want to be a leader of leaders. And you know who those people are, because you sit in a room with them. You can sit in a room with leaders, and when you sit in a room with them, somebody rises up. Somebody steps up. And you know what's interesting? I have good friends that are Navy SEALs. You know there's no rank in the Navy with Navy SEALs? They don't have, they're usually in platoons of 4 to 6. They don't have a rank. The leader steps up and leads. And the rest of the guys follow that leader. And it's not a rank position. Well, it's the same way in our business. You know, you're going to be followed because people trust you. And what is trust? I'm going to define it for you. Trust is consistency over time. That's what trust is. Because you all know, you've had somebody in your life that broke your trust, you know, at some time in your life. And then you say, well, can you forgive that person? Of course I can forgive them. But is my relationship going to be the same? Absolutely not. It's going to be the same with consistency over time. So I believe I can get back to that trust place with them, but I need to see consistency over time. That's why as leaders, we call our team to accountability. You know, what you say you're going to do has little importance as what you're doing. So I want you to take these 5 points of the 10, we'll do the other 5 next week. Tonight, I want you to grade yourself out on them. But I also want you to utilize this once you have it, and we're done next week. I want you to utilize it with your team. Because I want them to really start to look and be able to evaluate, well, if that's 1 point of leadership, I'm really low on that. I've got to focus on that. And then you need to, as a leader, and you're mentoring with them and you're coaching with them, focus on those points. Okay, so let's get started. Point number 1. In your group with your team, a leader must do more than anyone on their team. A leader must do more than anyone on their team. I call it guide and show leadership. How do we have the expectations as leaders to be followed if we're not doing the things that we tell people that need to be done? So as leaders, I always knew when I was building my business, I outworked all my players. I worked all the players on my team. And why did I do that? Well, first I had a big dream and a big goal, but I knew if they were going to follow me, then they needed to see my success. They needed to see it prove that every day that this business works. If you're on this call tonight, you haven't brought in a new personal coach in the last month or two, and you look at your team and you say, well, you need to be sponsoring, you need to bring in new coaches, you need to work with them, you need to train them. If we're not doing that ourselves at the highest level, then we can't expect to be leaders of leaders, right? So the whole belief is in action. And I talked about that last night. Relentless, passionate, purposeful action. And as leaders, when you grade yourself out here, say, do I outwork my team? You know, or am I just telling them what to do and hoping they do it, you know, and not knowing if they will or not? Because see, so many people get in our industry and they get sponsored in our business, and you know what they become? They become tour guide, or they become travel agents. They sit back and tell people where to go. Well, if you do this, you know, if you do this, then you're going to have success. Well, we can't build leadership as travel agents. We build leadership as tour guides. We show up and we lead the team, right? And you know the difference. If I book a vacation to someplace I've never been, a travel agent can book it for me. But when I show up there, if I have a tour guide, whether it be Israel or the place I want to go, that tour guide's he knows where to go. He knows what to show me. He knows what I need to see. And so we have to be tour guides, not travel agents. And we have to be willing to do that. And our belief in ourselves, and our belief in our team, and our belief in our dream is what's going to drive that daily activity. And so we need to be willing to do that, you know, continually. And that mentorship comes from people watching you, not just hearing what you're doing. And so many of you on here tonight probably think, well, maybe, you know, I know what to tell people what to do. I sort of do. But let them see you doing it. And I don't, you know what? I don't even understand this. This is really crazy. But I found while I was building my business, I found that when I stopped bringing in new people, when I stopped mentoring, and I took time away, my team took time away. It's just, I don't even understand it. And maybe some of you will confirm that. But I didn't bring in any new people for a while. My team stopped sponsoring because the fleet moves at the speed of the lead ship. And so I want you tonight, as you grade yourself out here, you know, say, hey, am I a tour guide or am I a travel agent? And are my people seeing me doing what I'm telling them to do? You know, whether it be with my fitness, whether it be with bringing in new people, whether it be my sit downs to get people started effectively and be effective in my starting of the new people. Am I outworking my team? Because so many people, most of the people that get in your business, and you're finding this, they all hear about network marketing. They all hear nobody makes money in that business. They all hear people get in and get out. Everybody who comes in has doubt from day one. I don't care how strong their belief is. They have doubt in themselves. They have doubt in the business. They have doubt that it's going to work. And yet, the only way we can be the example to show them that the business does work is to be the point man. To be the point man. And then seeing you rank up. You know, think about it. When's the last time you ranked up? When's the last time you moved to the next rank? If you're not changing pins, if you're not ranking up in your business at least every 60 to 90 days, then you're falling behind. Every 60 to 90 days, you should be hitting the next rank. If you're 1 star, you ought to break a diamond and be or a 2 star, right? That's and when people see that, it creates what? The big mo. What's the big mo? Momentum. No business grows without momentum. And that's one of the things I saw when we first started working with Christine Dwyer. The momentum that got created from people's efforts and the activity and the action, it created this massive tsunami, and people were left behind. People feel like, gosh, I got to catch up because that's my tribe. Those are my people. I'm not going to be left behind. And then some of them decided to step up and be leaders of leaders. And then that's what created the momentum and the big mo in that business that drove that business. When I was building my business, my license plate on my car was the big mo. You know, I'd pull in to get gas. Someone would say, who, you the big mo? I said, no, it's momentum. And without it, we don't grow. Without it, we don't grow. Because remember this, as a leader, when you stop growing, when your business, our business doesn't stay where it is. If you get to a certain point and try to stay there and you hit a maintenance mode, you will go backwards. And some of you tonight are sitting at a place in your business, I believe it because I know enough about you, even though I don't know you personally, that you're kind of on this spiral staircase and you're standing on one tread right now. And you've got to make a decision. Am I going to take the next step, or am I slowly getting, because those treads are getting smaller. You can't stay at this level. You've got to move on to that next level. So that's number one. A leader does more than anyone on their team. So right now, if you're taking notes, grade yourself 1 to 10. Point number 2, a leader pursues change. I'm not just saying, oh yeah, I need to, no. I mean, I'm talking about personal growth. I'm talking about obsessed with change. I'm talking about studying whoever your mentors are. You know, I mean, when I got in the industry, the people, my upline, I had some incredible mentors. I mean, I had great success and I had it fast and I made millions of dollars. I attribute so much of it to those I learned from. But I was also a student. I mean, we used to have little cassette players. I know a lot of you are probably so young, you don't even know what a cassette player is. Little cassette players, I'd have a little microphone, and every time I got around my upline, I would record, I'd ask them questions and record the answers. Because I knew, once I knew what they knew, I could do what they did. And so I became an incredible, in fact, I had a guy say to me one time, he said, you are obsessed with personal change and personal growth more than anybody I've ever met. And you know what? I took that as a compliment. I go, I have to, you know. People sometimes said when I got in the industry, you got brainwashed. I said, dude, this brain need to get washed, right? I was working in construction. You know, I worked in law enforcement. I mean, you know, when I first got in the industry, guys, I had to learn to, you know, I had to quit dropping F-bombs to even have some success and have anybody want to follow. I mean, I just had to change a lot. But I knew that I was in control of that. Isn't this a blessing? Think about this. You're in control of your ability to change, to take that information in, to spend the time it takes doing it. You know, in prayer, in the things that whatever you do to get strength, because growth equals change, and without growth, we don't change. You know, and listen to this. Don't forget. Write this down. Don't forget, in leadership, if you're through growing, you're through. That's John Maxwell. In leadership, if you're through growing, you're through. And I'm telling you, if some of you are driving this business and you're a 2-star or a 1-star diamond, or you're a diamond, and you say, I want to make 5-star, I want to make 10-star. Until you change to where people are drawn to you, people are attracted to you because of your attitude, because of your belief, because when people get around you, they just know. There's no question in their mind. This person believes. They believe in themselves and they believe in what they're doing. Here's another quote I want you to write down. When you are comfortable with who you are, you cease being comfortable. You cease to be uncomfortable with who you are not. Let me say that again. When you are comfortable with who you are, you cease to be uncomfortable with who you are not. You know, every day I wake up, you know, I'm a Christian, and every morning I have Bible study and prayer, and I just say, I want to be better, you know, because I know, man, I'm never going to be perfect, but each day I choose to be better in my life. And as leaders, that's the choices we have to make. And it's a choice. It's a choice. It doesn't just happen by chance, but you as a leader have to pursue change, because separation from the masses, separation from the negativity, separation from those in your life who have attitudes that pull you down is preparation. Because leaders separate themselves from what doesn't impale their life, their heart, and their passion, and it prepares them to be the kind of leaders that they need to become. You know, numbers follow leaders. I said that. You control the growth of your group by the growth of yourself. And so grade yourself out on point number 2. A leader pursues change. I mean, not just, but demands it of themselves. And with an intense desire. With that, let me say this. Nobody should have to motivate you, right? You know, I speak a lot. I've spoken to 5,000, 50,000 people, you know, and people will come, oh, you're a motivational speaker. And let me just tell you, and I'm going to teach you a lesson right now. We aren't motivational speakers, because you're never going to motivate anybody, right? We don't motivate people. And if you look every day, I got to call my coach to get motivated. I used to have people call me and say, Craig, I just need to talk to you because I want to get motivated. That's not my job. That's not your job as a leader. If your dream, if your passion, if your desire for greatness, if your desire is to raise the bar in your life, no one needs to motivate you to do that. Now, sure, we have encouragers in our life. That's what we have to be as leaders, encouragers in our life. But man, don't ever wake up in the day and look for someone to motivate you. Because I've learned, and you know, if that dream isn't motivating you, it's not big enough. You know, if that dream is not motivating you, and none of you are going to build this business for a new car, a new house. You're never going to build this business for a thing. You're going to build it because you know that if you don't, that you're not fulfilling the very destiny of what you've been chosen to do with your life. That's the challenge. That's the struggle. You know, that's the thing when someone says, just you got to motivate me. Don't ever get caught in that trap. And don't ever feel like, oh, how am I going to motivate my team? You know, here's a great one to write down. if you're trying to get more out of what you got, go get some more. You know, I used to get to a point in my business where I'd be so frustrated because I just didn't feel like some of my players that I thought were my players were doing what they needed to do to grow the business. And you know what? I'd sit there and I'd do what I could try to do to, quote, motivate them, or, how can I make them do what I talked about it last night. You got to work with a Willie. You can't fall in love with potential. And how am I going to get these people to do this stuff? And then I realized that wasn't my job, but I also realized when someone come up to me and they'd share with me, oh, Craig, this week was such a struggle. I had 3 no's and 2 people quit my business, and they'd complain and they said, what am I doing wrong? What's my problem? And I just look them in the eye and say, your dream's too small. Your dream's too small. Because the minute we as leaders take our eyes off the dream, the why of why you're doing this, and some of you tonight may need to go back to your, it's like when I did marriage counseling, it was like, I'd sit across from couples, they said, we don't seem to love each other anymore. I said, let's go back. Let's go back to that moment you fell in love. Let's go back to why did you fall in love? What did that look like? What did that feel like? Because see, we make decisions with a part of our brain of feelings. Have you ever made a decision to do something? They said, why'd you do it? I don't know. I had this instinct. That's part of our brain. That instinct is what makes us make decisions, right? And so for us as leaders, we need to understand that we can't motivate anybody. I just say your dream's too small. Because think about it. If your dream's big enough and you're constantly focused on it, and you're not allowing the daily things of life, you're becoming a matador of emotion and moving things to the side, and you're not allowing the drudgery of daily activity, which has to get done. If you're not allowing that to get in your way, then you're focused on where you're going. And one of the things I found, when you're focused on the dream, the boulders in the road on the way there become pebbles. But how many of you know this, that if I lose sight of that dream, if I forget why I'm doing this, if I lose sight of my calling that God's given me to be purposeful in the lives of others, if I lose that, then the pebbles become boulders. Everything looks so huge. So we need to make a decision. Right today, where are you in your growth place? You look at your business, your business right now is exactly where it should be. And some of you say, well, I know I've worked hard. No. The business you have is exactly what you should have right now for what you've done the last 90 days. But praise God, what we get to do in this business is draw a line whenever we want. And when we draw that line, we say, I'm stepping over it. I don't care what's happened last week, the week before. And it's almost like a rebirth. You know how many rebirths I had in my business? Oh my gosh. Because I'd set goals and I didn't get them. I didn't accomplish them. So instead of getting discouraged, I crossed a line and I had a rebirth. But I always stayed focused on that dream. Why I was doing it. Why I was building this business. Because for me, it was a calling. I couldn't negotiate it. I was called to be an impact player. I had the DNA. If you had that DNA, quit negotiating it. Quit trying to think you don't. Quit trying to think it's a cold you're going to get over one day and feel better. You've got it for life. There's this song that you're writing. This song inside of you that you're writing for life. Some of you have this life book that we're writing. And some of you are 25 or 30 years old and you close the book in the 3rd chapter. And you have so many more chapters to write. And that's our calling. That's going to beat the house, right? That's going to beat the new car. Because every day you can look in the mirror and know, I did today everything I could do. Like I talked about last night, I had the Augmentino quote, exhausted my potential till it cried for mercy. That's how much we want to change. That's what we want to do. That's how we want to live our lives. That's the difference. And you know what? We're in a small group, you guys. And I know you face that because you've been out sharing your business, and people that need what we have or what you have. They need to work out. They need to get fit. They need to get healthy. They need hope. And you try to present it the best way you can. And we just think, if I just say it differently, there's people that sit across from you that don't have the DNA you have. And you have to be okay with that. And instead of trying to convince them they do, go find someone that does. The leaders I found in my business that built a multi-million-dollar business were people I found with DNA. And I became the encourager in their life. I came alongside of them. I didn't give them that DNA. It was there. But a lot of people don't have it. My brothers don't have it. I got great brothers. You know, they work construction, most of them. They come home, smoke a doob, go to bed. They don't think the way I do. So don't get caught up in trying to convince people of your dream, especially when you're brand new in the business. You want to tell our family, oh, I'm going to do this. We're going to do great things with our life. But I'm so fired up. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do it. You know what? You might as well be speaking Chinese to some of them because they don't get it. And I'm okay with that. I learned that a long time. I'm okay with that. I'm still going to speak the truth, but I'm not going to worry about it. But I'm going to find those people that when I speak the language, you know, I know when I speak to a large audience, if I speak to 5,000 people, I know that so many people in that audience don't hear what I say because I always try to speak truth through the heart to the soul. And a lot of people just don't get it. But there's always people that come up to me afterwards and they look me in the eye and they say, Craig, you were talking to me today. What you said, you were talking to me. And I know, boom, DNA. DNA, right? They found me. They sought me out. You spoke to me. You know what I say? I know. I get it. I get it. Because see, the first time I ever went to an event, when I got in the industry, it was up in Portland, Oregon, about 17,000 people in an arena. I had 3 people on my team. Drove all the way up there on a Friday because I had to be back to work on Monday and took a motorhome with my 3 people. And I sat in the very top of the Coliseum. And it was thousands of people. I didn't even have nice clothes on. I didn't own nice clothes. I was broke. I sat up in that audience and I saw this couple come on stage and they started sharing their life and they started sharing about things I've talked about with you guys. And man, my heart was just pounding. It was pulsating because I knew you're talking about me. I'm one of you. We're one of these aliens, right? And I sat there, and you know what impact they talked about there being multimillionaires and the car, the travel, and none of that got me. What got me was they told their story of struggle and overcoming. And in that story, it was impactful to me, but here's what made me decide I was where I needed to be. I looked around that room and I saw people sobbing. I saw people sobbing because I knew they related to that struggle and that pain. Then I saw husbands grab their wives and kind of squeeze them a little tighter. Like, maybe we can do that. Maybe someday we can do that. And that's when I knew this is something. How do you explain this to somebody? Their power of overcoming and sharing that story is transforming the lives of the people around me. At that moment, I said, okay, God, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. So you have to grow. You have to change. Point number 3, and grade yourself in that. How good are you at that? How are you at that personal growth thing? Point number 3, a leader can communicate vision in the lives of others and calls them to action. As a leader, if you can't communicate vision, if your people don't trust you to know that where you're going is the place you told them about, and they know that no matter what the jungle represents, no matter what the pebbles or the boulders we got to get over, that you know as their tour guide, you know where you're going. But we need to be able to create that. We need to be able to share that. Write this down. Our path is the way we travel. The vision is where we travel, and our purpose is why we travel. That's a formula for success in our business. Our path is the way we travel. That's our game plan. We know what we need to be doing every single day. Every single day we know we need to be sitting across from someone, sharing our life with them, right? We know what we need to do with our leadership. We need to be mentoring. We need to be meeting people every single day. All of the activities that needs to take place every single day, we need to be doing, right? So our path is the way we travel, that game plan. And hopefully you all have one, and you're on it, and you're growing, and you're sticking to it. Because in this business, the leadership, you're the GPS unit, okay? A lot of people just put it on, boom, hit on, okay, I need to get here. I say, oh, I can help you become 10-star or 5-star. Okay, then you become my GPS. I'm just going to push it in, and you tell me what to do. Our vision is where we travel, okay? Where are we going? Where are you going? Does your team know? Not just about your dream, but do they trust where you're going? Do they see you on the stage? Do they see you ranking up? Do they see you doing the things that it takes? Let me talk about vision for a minute. There's 4 points of vision. 4 things vision can do for you. One, vision gives us the ability to persevere. It gives us the ability to persevere. If you were to look today at your day, okay, it might have been a really bad day. If you look at today at your business, maybe it's going, maybe you have someone who goes diamond and then they drop back, and you look at your business and you're just frustrated, right? And you get all emotional, and we start dealing with feeling, and we can't be that matador of emotion. So what gives us the ability to persevere? What gives us the ability to get through that? It's vision. It's knowing, it's believing in something you haven't seen. But here's what's so great. I mean, I don't even remember when I started working with Beachbody. I don't even know if there was a 15-star diamond. I think Christine Dyer was the first one. Now look at the examples you have. We had a couple of people in the Millionaire Club. So you have someone who there's the ability to persevere. You have examples of that, right? But it doesn't matter. What matters is you. So vision gives us the ability to get past the daily crap and the crud we're going through and the struggles and the person that bugs you in your downline and all these things. It gets because we go back to the vision. And without it, you perish. That's Psalm 29. And man without vision will perish. Man, have I found that to be true in this business. The people I've seen get in and out, they lost track of their why. They lost track of their vision. Number two, vision gives conviction to stand, okay? Conviction to stand, confidence to speak, and compassion to share. It gives us conviction to stand. When I believe in that vision, I said it last night, don't mess with my business because you're messing with my family. You can say what you want. You can put on Facebook whatever you want. None of that stuff bugs me. But it's because I know where I'm going, it gives me the conviction. I'm not there yet, but I'm going. And, I used to tell people that laughed at me, you get a big lunch and sit in the bushes and watch because I'll be there. Because you know what? They knew it because I knew it. I used to get around my friends or guys I worked with, cops especially, and they'd be complaining about their life. And every one of them had an opportunity to see my business and wasn't interested. A lot of them, some got involved, and every time they'd be complaining and I'd walk in the room, they'd stop. They'd say, okay, I'm sorry. They didn't want to complain around me because they knew, are you complaining or do you want to change your life? Are you complaining or do you really want to change your life? That's an easy yes or no answer. We don't need to fabricate or create something. That's yes or no. So it gives us conviction to stand. It gives us the confidence to speak. When you believe you're going somewhere, you don't have any problem standing up. What kind of posture do you have in your belief? If you sit across from me and you want me to get involved with you in business, I'm going to join you. I'm just telling you, I'm going to join you. I might join Beachbody, but I'm going to join you. And especially today. I was reading an article recently on network marketing, and they said what people are looking for today has totally changed. Than it used to be, how good's this product? And that's important too. But you know what people are looking for? Mentorship. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for somebody they can follow. And if a person asks you about your company, and the first thing they ask you is about the comp plan, okay, or they just ask you about your product or just the comp plan, you know what? They're amateurs. If they ask you, tell me about your leadership, they're pros. They get it. They understand it. And thirdly, it gives you compassion to share. I can't shut up. When I was building my business, I couldn't. I was never one of these guys who chased people. I never one of the guys. And I'm so glad I've seen recently on Facebook, and not just with Beachbody, but other companies, is, people on social media just blowing it up with their business. You know what? That's not the answer, right? That's not the answer for us. The compassion to share is that relationship. That compassion to share is getting a chance one-on-one to be with someone. And does your life emulate what they want and who they want? I remember I was talking to people that would end up getting sponsored into Beachbody, and they would pick a sponsor. And so I'd ask them, because I'm polling everybody. I'm always trying to learn. And I'm saying, why did you join that? Why did you get involved with that person? Well, I met him. I saw him on Facebook. Oh, really? What did you see? You know what they talked about? I saw the time they spent with their family. I saw the way they edified their spouse. I saw the things that were important to them. And so when someone's watching you, especially in social media, they're not interested in talking about your workout. They're not interested so much in talking about your product. They're going to watch you from afar because they're hopeless. They're living quiet lives of desperation. They don't get along that great with their husband because when you're broke, okay, it's tough to stay positive. And they're going through all this stuff. And then when they see you, not preaching to them, you know, not continuing to just beat them up, but they just see you living your life, a life that's believable and one that's real. When they see that, those are the people. Every time, so many times I said, why'd you join that person? Because they just, the life they lived, who they were, what they stood for. So your conviction to stand comes from your vision. Third, your vision sees beyond your current state. Thank God for that. When I got in the business, I was $250,000 in debt in 1979 because I owned spec homes, couldn't sell them. $250,000 in debt. If I had to see myself daily with where I was and wallow in that, there's no question in my mind I would have never made it. And what took me past that was, number one, I knew I was going to get there. I knew I was going to finish. And then number two was the whole idea that I realized that my current state was temporary. But for some of you, if you're not building, this business is tough because the current state you're in is going to stay current and you're going to stay in it. And so today, if you're on this call tonight or this hangout tonight, and the only problem you have, your major problem right now in your life is money, get on your knees and thank God that your child doesn't have cancer, that someone that you love isn't dying. See, if money's the only thing you have in your hands, the greatest business that's ever been created to create significance and success. In Robert Buford's book, Halftime, Robert Buford talks about how we spend it's a great book if you haven't read it, by the way, but he spends the first half, he said, we spend the first half of our life trying to be successful. We want to get a nice house. We work hard in a job. Those are our productive years, right? We're productive, right? And we're working hard. And he said, you know, so you work hard, you do that. And by the time you get to 50 years old, he said, all of a sudden you start looking at your life differently a little bit. And you say, what significance have I brought? What's been significant about my life? Well, how have I made a difference? And so people that are past that hit these provisional years, the years to provide, the years to go on the mission field, the year to give your life away. But see, so many people, because they don't have what we have, they don't have the opportunity to ever hit provisional years. They hit productive for the rest of their lives. And they finish their life with regret. And you know what the regret comes from? It comes from the fact that they never were able to be significant. I want you to think about this for a minute, leaders. We have the only business, and I've been 37 years in the industry. I'm 66 years old. It's the only business that exists where the only way I can possibly create the wealth and the lifestyle and the business for my family I want is I have to go be significant in the lives of people. So I get the blessing of significance that goes with success. That's unbelievable. I don't have to wait till I'm 50, 55 and look back and say, I want to do something significant. No, that's how I got there. And that's what each of you have. And I want you to see your vision so much bigger for some of you than you've been seeing it. You know, because you can't outdream your self-esteem. You can't outdream your self-esteem. And some of you believe so little in yourself that it completely perils and knocks down our ability to see beyond what we are today. And I want some of you to just, you're going to have to get really crazy. And you're going to have to get past, maybe you're not the kind of leader you need to be, but you're going to become one. But the only thing that can get us beyond our current state is that belief that, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to change my life. And I'm going to stand on a stage one day. And I'm going to stand up there and I'm going to speak at a summer event. And I'm going to have, in the front of me are going to be people who are going to run up to the stage and they're going to want to take a picture of me because I touched their lives, because I had an effect on their lives. So I don't care what your state is today. That's where you have to live. That's where you have to live. You know, when in the business I was in, when you went diamond, it was a big deal, and you'd speak in front of thousands of people, and your upline would introduce you. They'd say, "Oh, you know, I'd like to and then they'd play Rocky in the background, don da da don da da don da da don. They'd throw flowers on the stage and balloons. It was unbelievable. And so what I had when I first got in the business, I'd been in about a month. I had my sponsor. I said, "Will you take this recorder and will you introduce me?" I said, "I want to put some Rocky music to it. Will you introduce me as a brand new diamond, Craig Holliday, right? And just give me the introduction you're going to give me when I get there. And I want to play this music." And he did. I played it every single day. When I got up in the morning, when I went to bed at night. When I got up in the morning, when I went to bed at night. Why? Because it was where I was going. It didn't matter my current state. It didn't matter I was $250,000 in debt because that's where I was going. So for each of us, we have to be able to see beyond our current stage. Number 4, obedience to our vision motivates us to act. Obedience to vision motivates us to act, and also it fulfills us. You know, one of the things I learned in my business, and I know some of you are finding this out, but when I worked hard, it didn't matter how much success I had. If I was doing every day, I talk about in my training, I have 10 things you do every single day. If you do them every day, at the end of the week, your business owes you growth. It owes you income. And so there's those 10 things a day that you do every single day. And I knew if I did these, and all of those things had to do with not, oh, I'm going to sponsor somebody this week. I had no control over that. It had to do with the things I needed to do every day, like personal growth, like meet somebody new, like put somebody new on my list, like do a sit down with someone and share my business and share my life. I had these 10 things a day, and I knew if I said I'm going to show 5 people my business this week, if I got to call 50, I'm going to show 5. So I put those 10 things were always wrapped around what I knew I could control. And so if I had 10 a day, every night I went to bed, if I had 10 checks next to them, I won that day. I won. Didn't matter. I won because I did the things I said I was going to do that I could control, right? So many of us as leaders and people in the business, we make mistakes. We set goals that we have no control over. No, that's not fair. So I tell the people I mentor, no, here's your 10 things a day. You can control all of them. So if you go to bed and you checked 8, you failed. How many times you want to fail? So if you work the business 5 days a week, that's 50 checks. If you got 40, you failed that week. How many times you want to fail? So you got to win every single day and do the things every day that don't seem that important. They don't even seem that important, but they are. They're little things you do every day to win in our business. Because remember, in our business, a lot of you are afraid to set goals. If somebody says to you, when are you going to go 5-star, you're afraid to set that goal. Or, because why? I don't want to fail. People hate failing. It doesn't feel good. Well, if I'm working with you and I'm mentoring you, I say, we're going to have goals. We're going to set goals. Say, when are you going to hit this place? Right? Now, if you've worked with me, that to get there, you got to do our 10 things a day. Right? So if we set a goal, I'm going to be 5-star in the next 6 months. Let's just throw that out. So by the time we get there, all I have to do is look at your daily activity when we get to that point. Let's say 5 months, 6 months from now on a Monday. If we get to that point, right, then I look and I say, well, there's been this many 5-day periods. How many 50 check weeks do you have? Because if we do that and you get there and you didn't hit that rank, you never failed. You just got to reset the goal. But if you get there and I sit there and I look at you and say, hey, listen, Andrea, here we are. We hit the date. You didn't make it. I just have one question for you. Did you do everything possible within your means, possible, without excuses, to accomplish that? If you say yes, then I say, then we won. Let's reset the goal. If you say no, you failed. So failure isn't not hitting the goal. Failure is not doing what you have to do every day to get there. So obedience to our vision motivates us to act. When you know there's a place you got to go, you can't sit still. You've got to get it done. Point number 4, a leader is competent and knows their business. Competence goes beyond words. It's the leader's ability to say it, plan it, do it in such a way that others know that you know how and know that they want to follow you. Okay? You have to be competent in your business, right? You got to know how to win. And that's part of why, as we grade these out, when you look at the competence, what does it take to be successful in business? Well, Mindy can tell you she's built a multi-million-dollar business. What are the daily activities? What are the things you have to do? What are the things you don't necessarily want to do? Darren Hardy's a guy, I love to read his books, and he wrote a book called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. But here's what he says about what we do. Not MLM marketing, but entrepreneurs. Here's what he says. He says, entrepreneurship is like looking down a black hole and chewing on glass. That's how he described what we do, which is so true, right? It's so true. because it's a struggle all the time, because you know what, we're in charge. If it is to be, it's up to me. And and so we have to learn how to win. And so we have to be competent in our business. We have to know, your back office. If you have to know what the ranks are. You have to know the detail part of your business. And then you need to know, what are the daily things that need. You need to know how to start a new coach effectively, how to build a list of names, how to help make the phone calls, how to do those sit downs, how to do follow-ups, how to prospect people, how to get people started, how to build generational leadership. These are all things you have to learn how to do. Because see, in our business, once we know that, we can teach it. And once we know it, we're doing it. So when you look at the things about your business, and somebody says, well, can you explain your comp plan to me? You really can't, then that's your job. You need to learn to do that. If you don't know how to start someone effectively, you need to learn how. You don't know how to prospect, what to say. If you don't know how to follow up, the 8 crucial steps that I train. I'm working with a company right now. I've been consulting there for almost a year. I've just signed another year contract with them. But one of the things I did, these people knew nothing about how to build leaders and teams. And it's been quite a journey. And one of the things I started with, I teach the 8 crucial steps of the business. It's the same thing. I don't know if you could ever get your hands on, but I put together a series. It was a CD series for Beachbody years ago. And I don't know if some of the people might, but it's called Performance for 90 Days of Excellence. Right? Performance for, and it was kind of taken off for P90X and Horton's thing, but it was Performance for 90 Days of Excellence. And in that, I had 8 CD package of the 8 crucial steps for success. So do you know those? Do you have a duplicatable plan? Is your team competent? Are you helping your team to become skilled and to be able to do what you can do? Because I'm going to tell you something, if you're not building leadership, you got another job. If you don't have people doing what you're doing, you have another job. But they expect you to train them. They expect you to teach them. They expect you to inspire them. Let's talk for a second. When you talk about competency, what is productivity in our business? What is productivity? Productivity is this, 2 words, new faces. New faces. That's productivity. Anything else is management. And none of you have an organization that you're ready to manage, right? And if you don't build leadership, you'll be trying to manage all of it. Productivity in our business is new faces. So it's real simple. If I sat down with you tonight, if I sat down with Andre tonight, said, open your calendar for me. And I hope you're all using hard copy calendars. And I got a whole training series on time management that I would love to do for you guys. But let's say you're opening it up, okay, and she's using one. I give her a red pen. I said, circle every new face you saw this month. Circle every new face. Okay, if we got to the end of the month and she had 5 circles, 10, I say, you're not going to win, right? Because if that is the indicator of your business. Okay, if you've met with the same person 6 times, you've done this with the same person, you try to motivate another, you look at your week. Guess what productivity is? Prospecting someone. Somebody new that you're building a relationship with and introducing your business. That's a prospect. How about somebody on your team that wants you to meet with someone that they have that's interested in the business? That's a new face. That counts for me, right? How about doing a sit down with a new person? That counts, right? How about finding someone in depth that I don't even know and giving them a call and finding out the pulse, find out what's going on downline for me in my business? That's a new face, right? So if you're seeing new faces, so this week, it's very simple. At the end of this week, tomorrow's Friday, open your calendar. How many new faces did you see this week, right? If the number's minimal, you're not going to grow. And remember this is a good one for you tonight. I know I'm getting intense. Okay, as leaders, we need to understand whatever team got you to where you are, ain't getting you to the next rank. Okay? Now, some of them are going to come along, and some of them are going to be there when you rank up, but some of them ain't going to stay. And some of the times, one of the mistakes we make in our business as leaders is we build a business. Let's say we build a 3-star business. We have a pretty good business. And then now we're going to manage our team. We're going to go back and now on the way to getting 3-star, you should be mentoring. You should be training. Those three diamonds you have should be very competent. They should be 10-point on their way to being 10-point leaders, right? And so, but as you look at that, you say, okay, so what I say is when you go diamond again, right? With another whole new team. So do whatever you did to get to the rank you're at and do it another time. So if you're 5-star diamond, look back at all the effort, everything you did to go 5-star, and start over and go 5-star again. Don't try to get your team to take you to 10-star. This is brilliant, guys. This is huge for our business and for your business. So many people make the mistake because you can't get more out of what you got. But for some reason, once we got 2 or 3, we think, oh, I got 2 or 3. And so we sit on them. We try to hatch them. It's like you're sitting on this egg and hoping it hatches. You know what you need to do? Get yourself 3 more. Because to go 10-star diamond, you have to have 5 diamonds and 5 already in place. So what does that mean? That means if I've got 5 diamonds that are 5 people are going to go diamond, I already have to have in place 5 more. I can't go 5-star and want to go 10, but start over to get another 5. I want my 10 in place, 5 diamonds and 5 that are on their way there. And that takes what? Personal width. That takes finding a new coach. But am I wrong? How many of you love bringing in a new coach? They're excited. You know, some of your old coaches, they're not as excited. I used to call it the gray butt dog syndrome. I had an old English shepherd. I mean, an old English dog. And as he got old, and you know this, and as dogs get older, butts get gray. And pretty soon they just lay around. They don't do much. Some of them start even peeing on themselves. They're not in good shape, right? And they're not going to win a race for you. They're not going to be jumping up in you in the morning and kissing you. But yet, how about if you got a puppy? You ever seen puppies? They never stop. They're going everywhere. They're jumping up and down. They want to kiss you. They want to. We need puppies. Some of you got gray butt dogs, and you're trying to grow with gray butt dogs. They're not going to take you to the next level. God love them. I have nothing against them. Let them stay in, do whatever they're doing. But we need to keep adding to our team. So the team you have now is not going to get you to the next level. You got to do it again. You got to do it again. But what if you had to do it 3 times? What if you're a 5-star tonight and I'm saying, you got to do it again? You say, oh, Craig, it's taken me a year to get here. I don't care. What if you did it another time and you had 10, and you did it another time and you had 15? What if you're making 7 figures a year? That's what it's going to take. We can't sit on our rank. What's your greatest rank? People used to ask me, what was your greatest rank? I go, the next one. In fact, they asked Tom Brady. I saw this quote by Tom Brady. He said, what's been your favorite Super Bowl ring? He goes, the next one, right? And that's the way we need to be thinking. So we need to be competent as leaders. So right there, give yourself a grade, 1 to 10 on your competency as a leader. Number 5, a leader owns it. What does that mean? That means take ownership of your business. You can't blame anybody for the business you have. I'm going to take responsibility for it. And the day you decide to start taking responsibility for your business and where it is today is the day you decide that you're going to be some of you are going to decide it's not what you want it to be and you're going to go change it. But so many of us want to, well, if I would have done this and somebody would have helped me more. And you know what? There's nobody to blame. I got a letter that I pulled out recently. It was from a gal years ago that wrote me in Beachbody. And she wrote to me, she basically just said, hey, I'm going to be one of the top leaders in this company. She was brand new to the business. She wrote me, she lived in Chicago. She was brand new to the business. She wrote me this really long letter. Now, I got to be honest, I've gotten letters like that from people. They said, hey, you can count on me. I'm going to be a leader. I want to be mentored by you. I'm going to be one of the biggest in this company. And I read all of this stuff. You know, I'm reading about it and saying, oh, that's great. And she says, and I'll do whatever it takes. And I understand it's my response. My upline's not even helping me. I have no upline to help me, but I don't care. I'm going to take responsibility for my life. And I pulled that out recently. You know who wrote that letter to me? Lindsay Matway. You guys know who she is? She's done a pretty good job in this company, building a business. She was brand new, scared to death, so afraid. But the one reason why I knew she built it, because she said, it's up to nobody but me. That was so impactful. I just found that again recently. I had that letter. I say it was crazy. And I looked at it. I thought, amazing. And I had a chance to mentor her and work with her. But you know what? Just to write that letter with the boldness. But the one thing is, well, you know, my upline doesn't help me. People like to complain. She said, I don't have anybody helping me. But I know if it is to be, it's up to me. So you got to own your business. Take responsibility for it. Number 2, you got a responsibility for your life. What kind of integrity do you have? What kind of character do you have? Is your word good? Do you tell your upline you're going to do something and then never do it? So you got to take responsibility for your life. You know, as I grew, I mean, it would have been very simple for me to blame my past and the abuse of my life and the father abandoning me and being poor and all those kinds of things in my life. But what did I say last night? It was when I went from why me to why not me. And if you'll go tonight from why me to why not me, I promise you that you'll take responsibility for your life, because there's nobody else that's going to. But when you do, it draws people to you, because there's so many people. We hear it with politics. We hear it in what's going on in the world right now is blame, blame, blame. And I learned, and you need to know this, that where you are tonight is right where you should be. But the greatest part of what I said earlier is we can draw a line and change all of that. You got to be responsible for your attitude. You got to be responsible for your attitude. If you ever give permission to someone to mess with your attitude, that's on you. Nobody can mess with my attitude. You know, it's just not going to happen, because I'm in charge of it. These are things we get to control. You know, when I got in the industry, my sponsor said, you know, it's up to you. I got excited. And you know what I'm going to say to you tonight? Some of you need to bet on you. I mean, you need to look in the mirror tonight and say, you know what? I'm betting on you, right? I'm going to bet on you. And I'm going to have the attitude that no one's going to mess with it. I'm going to quit trying to convince people of my dream and hope they buy into my dream, because it's none of their business. God gave you that dream. It belongs to you. And he doesn't give you something that he doesn't step alongside and help you accomplish. So that's been given to you. Quit trying to explain it and get everybody to buy into your dream. You know why? Because there's people out there that don't get it. They don't get it. And the fourth on the next one on that is their posture and their presence. You got to be responsible for your posture and presence. If you want me in business with you, then sit across the table from me and represent to me belief. Because you know what? If I'm depressed and I'm not doing good, I just want somebody to follow in my life. I just want somebody that I can have a chance to get behind and work in that wake like you do when you're riding a bike. And I just need somebody like that in my life. Represent that to me by your posture, by your confidence, not arrogance, not cockiness, but confidence. And when you do that, I'm not around people like that a lot. I'm drawn to it. It's a law of attraction. You know, the belief in your posture and your presence is so vital. You have to be accountable. Here's a quote. Every time we say we will do something, accomplish something, and we don't, we chip away at our own self-esteem. Every time we say we're going to do something, accomplish something, and we don't, we chip away at our own self-esteem. That's so true. Some of you tonight are confined in the doldrums because you just know you've been saying what you're going to do and you haven't done it. And pretty soon you don't feel good about yourself at all. And pretty soon we separate ourselves and we stay back. And that's not where you belong. You're a front runner. You're the point number one I made. You're outwork your team. You're the point man. You're the lead ship. And that's what each of you are. And you know that. And if you're not there yet, you're going to be. And so grade yourself out on that. A leader owns it. Your business, your life, your attitude, your posture, and your presence. Each one of you tonight, you have a song to sing. God's given you this life and this purpose. And there's this song inside of you that needs to be sung. And you know what your song is? It's your story. It's a story of overcoming, the story of victory, the story of failure, the story of falling on your face. And each one of those stories enlighten the lives of others because they're in the midst of what you've been through, and your victory in it blesses their life. So the things of our past that are ugly, if they stay ugly, and we don't change them and we don't make those decisions, then guess what? We can't ever bless others' lives. I know the ability I've had to bless the lives of people, and it's been a blessing to me. But that ability I've had has come because I overcame things. If I stayed where I was, I took away the gift that God gave me to bless others. But it was in the overcoming and the victories that gave me a chance to be significant in the lives of people. But you have a song inside of you, and you're either going to sing it, and every day there's words that are written, and it's our story. And you're either going to sing that song, or you're going to be 65 and 70 years old and you're going to die with that song inside of you. I'm going to close tonight by telling you a story. A good friend of mine, Florence Littauer, she was one of my mentors for years. She wrote the book called Personality Plus, Wired That Way. She's written 25 books, one of the most profound Christian speakers, national speakers, incredible woman. And she used to talk about the song Dying Inside of You. And she spoke at an event that I had, and she told this story, and I'm going to share it with you tonight. Florence's mother-in-law was probably in her, I'd say, 50s, 60s. And Florence was at her house one night, and her mother-in-law was sitting there and said, Florence, I want to show you something. Now, she'd known her. She'd been married to her son, Fred, for years. And she took her over, and she opened this big old trunk, big old just beat-up trunk. And she opened it up, and she reached inside, and she pulled out a scrapbook. And she opened the scrapbook, and page after page was pictures of her on stage singing opera, starring in these plays. And she said, my God, Mom, you've never told me about this. You've taken this old tattered trunk and you brought out this old scrapbook and you're sharing this with me now? And she said, whatever happened? She said, well, Freddie was born and our life, we lived through the Depression, and I just, life got in the way, and I just quit and I gave up. And she said, oh my God, Mom. And her mom got tears in her eyes and said, I just kind of quit on the dream, I guess. Well, her mom ended up getting cancer, and it was about a few years later, and she was dying, and she was in hospice and at the end of her life. And Florence went to visit her, and she had a wonderful Filipino lady taking care of her. And she said to the lady, she went in and she said, how's Mom doing? She said, she's failing. I don't think she'll make it through the night. And Florence went in and gave her a kiss on the head and forehead and said, I'm going to go and I'll be back in a couple hours. And so she said, well, I'm going to try to feed her some food, and we'll see you when you get back. And so Florence was gone for a couple of hours. And when she got back, she walked in, and the Filipino lady said to her, Florence, your mom's gone. And she said, well, what happened? She said, did you go in? She said, well, it was the strangest thing, Florence. She said, I went in to feed her. And she said, I put her food in front of her. And she said she was so weak. She was laying back on the pillow, and she just opened one eye and smiled at me. And I just left the food like I always did, and I walked into the other room. And she said, but Florence, you wouldn't believe what happened. She said, I was in the kitchen. And she said, I heard this voice, this operatic voice, one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard, come out of that bedroom. And she said, I sat there listening. It lasted short, maybe 30, 45 seconds. And she said, when I walked back in the room, Florence, Mama was gone. The message is for each of you, your calling to greatness. For each of you, you've been given the tools, the ability to write the song and sing the song. This crazy business that we're in, all of us, gives us that ability. So I want to encourage you tonight. Grade yourself out on those 5 steps. Next week, we'll go through the next 5. You're going to use this for your team. Use this to find out where your team needs help. And then be the encourager, and be the uplifter, and be the person in their life that lifts them up to the next level. Hey, God bless you guys. Thanks for letting me share. Good night.
Thank you so much, Craig. That was amazing. I don't even have anything to say to you guys to close that out, because I feel like Craig just dropped the mic. So you guys go into the team page and let's kind of discuss. I would love to hear where you guys feel, where you are with grading yourself, and I'll share where I feel that I am and see that what we can do to support each other and see if we can get our own personal score up. So thank you so much for your time and for your gifts and for your knowledge, Craig, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good, Andrea. Good night.
Good night.